welcome, Justin. Well, actually, like you live here now.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
Honolulu resident. So,
Yes.
when did you move to Oahu?
April
April,
12th.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we know each other for a while, and you've always had an affinity for Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, and then you like just tell me. I mean, you always wanted to move to Hawaii. So, what compelled you to do it now or this year?
Um, well, because the pandemic,
Pandemic, yeah.
it just was a easy transition because I was working outside of Los Angeles most of the year, and it was just like an easy way to reset. There was no need for me to go back to LA. But Hawaii for me is just has always been like a beautiful sort of like healing place. When I was a kid, my birthday was May 29th, and my mom's birthday was May 25th. So it always fell over Memorial Weekend. So my family and I would come every year since I was a little kid, year after year. So whenever I think about Hawaii, it's always like such a place of joy and like really amazing memories when my family was like really doing well. So I want that for my family.
Yeah, that's great. You have a young daughter now.
Yeah.
She going to school now, or?
Yeah, she's gonna start preschool. She's going to Montessori, so she starts in like a week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, Justin, like, this film is just incredible. I mean, like, talk about, first of all, congratulations on Blue Bayou.
Thank you.
I think it's truly a testament to kind of just the trajectory of your work as I mean, everyone knows you as an actor. You've been working as an actor for almost 20 years now, right?
Yeah.
And then you moved into directing and like, I mean, just what a trajectory with Gook, going to Sundance, and then Miss Purple, and now Blue Bayou, world premiering at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I know
wild.
that and you're already shooting your next film.
Yeah.
That's why you can't be here at the screening, because you're shooting this film in Oahu too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What came with the what was the idea, the inception behind Blue Bayou?
Well, I was thinking about what I wanted to do after Gook, and I realized that was what my purpose was. You moderate the Q&A for Man Up, the first one, and that was just like a film school for me.
Yeah.
And it was just jumping in the deep end, and I was mostly just trying to figure things out and just messing around. But after Gook, after Man Up, I didn't think I'd want to direct again. It was too hard. Being an actor is like so much easier. You just show up and so after Gook, I realized, oh wow, film is a really powerful medium in the sense that I can say things that can actually move people in a way, or make a difference, or start conversations. And as an actor, it was never. You don't really have that much control of the conversation. It was just I just show up. I'm a part of a team, which I love doing. But after Gook, I was just like, okay, well, I think I could do some good here. And then I started hearing about these adoptees that were being deported, that were brought over as children, and it broke my heart. So immediately I thought, you know what? Like, nobody knows about this issue. This is like a topic that like needs to be exposed, and that's where it started. And it kind of took a while to get it made. So in between, I made Miss Purple because I was kind of sick of waiting for people to greenlight it. So that's where it started.
Yeah. So like with Gook and Miss Purple, I mean, because you're a Southern California kid, right?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I know that Gook was inspired by, I mean, your family in a way, because it was set in Paramount, right?
Yeah.
And like during the riots, and like you had to kind of like, sort of was inspired by your family experience when you were doing that. Miss Purple is very much K-Town, and you live and breathe K-Town in Los Angeles. Blue Bayou is set in New Orleans. So why was the change of location and geography?
Well, there are a few reasons. I love Louisiana. I love New Orleans. It's somewhere I even considered living at one point. And the two main things were I wanted to have two adjacent Asian American communities in one film.
Got it.
So it was, a Korean American adoptee, which a lot of adoptees were adopted to the South.
Yeah.
So they're places like nice Christian families.
Right.
And then, the Vietnamese community. As you know, specifically, like, there's a lot of refugees were relocated to the South and San Jose and, Orange County, but like a lot to Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi. And I think it was like that community has never really been shown in film. I know Treme did a little bit,
Right.
and but beyond that, not too much.
Yeah.
And they have such a huge presence there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show two Asian cultures in one movie because it's usually just a Chinese film,
Right.
just a Japanese film, and we have so much to relate about, but also like there are some differences as well, and that's one reason. Secondly, I've never seen a film with an Asian American lead that just has a specifically Southern accent, like but they're very specific. So like for Blue Bayou, I wanted to do like a St. Francisville / like Baton Rouge, that region of an accent, and we're just always a lot of times portrayed as living in New York
Yeah.
or Los Angeles.
The coast.
Yeah, the coast,
yeah,
along
yeah.
the coast. So it was a good opportunity for that. Yeah.
So did you work with a dialect coach and like?
Yes, I did. My accent is an amalgamation of 3 different people.
Yeah. Okay.
In very specific accents, and then also when I cast Alicia, we had long conversations about
Yeah.
what kind of accent she would have.
She's not from the South.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, when they announced that that she signed on
Yeah.
your film, I was like, oh wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Is she playing an immigrant as well?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, but yeah. So like,
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, it must have been a lot of work just
Yeah.
working with the dialect coach and all that stuff.
Yeah, her specifically was very intentional because, I think if I had cast somebody who is American or even from the South,
Mhm.
I think they would take their American identity for granted.
Mhm.
I think hiring someone who's like not from the U.S., like from Sweden, every choice they make is an intentional choice.
Right.
And from looking from the outside at America and at so they get to choose what parts of American personalities or culture that they want to exemplify. So like I thought it was a very interesting choice coupled with a lot of really authentic
Yeah.
local people. Yeah.
Right. Right. Was that also that criteria also applied to Lin Dan Fan, who played the the Vietnamese
Yeah.
woman in the
Yes.
film? Yeah, because she's from France,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah.
And that choice specifically, I always wanted Lin Dan. I
Mhm.
had seen Indochine
Yeah,
and,
Indochine,
and The Beat That My Heart Skipped,
Yeah.
and always thought she was so fantastic. And I thought it just was so fitting because the film was in New Orleans and she's French.
Yeah.
And
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she spent a lot of time in London, so like her accent has softened over time, and I just felt like there'd be a otherworldliness to her,
Yeah.
but also just her French, background would feel right
Yeah.
in New Orleans,
Yeah.
and also her being Vietnamese,
Yeah.
like it just viscerally made sense to me, rather than an Asian American girl who would have been just as wonderful, but I felt like Lin Dan brought like something that's not tangible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can you talk about the look of the film? Because especially with with Gook and Miss Purple and this one, it's just they're all very distinct. Gook was black and white.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like Lahane in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miss Purple, I would say like maybe very much a Crystal Oil,
Yes.
Karwai look to it.
Yeah.
But what was your kind of color palette? Or you worked with Auntie Chen, your
Yeah.
DP that you work with regularly.
Yeah.
How did you guys approach the look and feel of this film?
Yeah. It's weird. It's so funny. It can. The French interviewers kept saying, "Oh, you're a French filmmaker," and I'm like, "Really? I don't know." But like, my thing is authenticity, and especially for something where you want to build empathy for a particular, segment of people, community, specifically being adoptees, and then more specifically adoptees from the South. Um, Building that empathy, I think, the most powerful tool is making people forget they're watching a film.
Yeah.
Almost like they're watching a real, like almost like a documentary.
Right.
So, I borrowed a lot from Cassavetes.
Yeah.
It's just like that 16 millimeter that I used. I just wanted to feel very raw and real and handheld. Mixed with a little bit of lyricism. I think I really get excited about authenticity, but having some moments of elevated sort of senses.
Yeah.
So that was the basis of thought when we approached it, and then it was like, the sense of melancholy and obviously there's blues and but we. I also gravitate towards the color purple.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it gives a sense of melancholy as well. But we try to keep things as naturalistic as possible and a lot of natural lighting. We didn't even put up like negs or like a lot of natural light. So as you saw, we did a lot of golden hour and utilize that very well and so it feels very docu-esque. Yeah.
So this film is very much of now, exploring a lot of issues of, you're thinking of Korean adoptees, you're talking of ICE, you're talking of immigration, whatnot. What is in a way, this is I would say Gook, Miss Purple, and Blue Bayou is pretty much kind of like in itself a trilogy.
Yeah.
Right. So can you just talk about kind of what is your statement for this film, if this is kind of like the third chapter of this trilogy?
Yeah. It's so funny because that whole trilogy conversation came up because I of course it's all like sort of a part of a trilogy. But I use that in an interview at Sundance at Miss Purple to be like, yeah, this is part of a trilogy, and the third part of the trilogy is filming this spring to kind of push the production company.
You
gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah.
But it is like, I do feel like each is like a chapter in like in a novel, and for Blue Bayou, I just wanted to tell a story that was just had a little bit more scope, was a little bit more accessible. But in the way I told it was very specific, and those were my goals, and also just the intersectionality of different sort of groups in New Orleans, because New Orleans is quite diverse, just like Los Angeles is. But ultimately, I think in film, one of the main things I'm trying to do is first and foremost bring empathy to us, but secondly is to show how we can all coexist in this country. So if you see each of those films, they do that. Gook is the conflict between African Americans and Korean Americans during the LA riots, but ultimately they coexist. They have to figure out a way to live in the same space. Miss Purple is like there's a whole Chicano element to it, and the quinceañeras, and being LA, and traveling outside your bubble. And then Miss Purple, Blue Bayou is interracial marriage, and Antonio's friends in the film are African American and Cajun, and then there's finding oneself in an adjacent culture through Parker in the film. But yeah, it's like how we can coexist is a big theme in my films. Yeah.
So what a whirlwind in the fact that you finish the film and whatnot, and it gets accepted to the Cannes Film Festival, and this happens. You world premiered last month.
Yeah.
Essentially, right? During a global pandemic, or still in a global pandemic, and whatnot. You're you're in pre-production for your current film that you're shooting here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. How is that? Going to Cannes.
Yeah.
And going there for literally 72 hours.
Yeah.
From Hawaii to Cannes and then back to Hawaii.
I was, Cannes is like the pinnacle of festivals.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful festival, and it's a huge honor because you know Sundance is like my home,
Yeah.
but it's an American festival,
Yeah.
so it's mostly American films.
Sure.
To get accepted to Cannes is a huge honor in the fact that it's a French festival.
Yeah.
So they only accept, it's a worldwide festival as well, so they only accept like a handful of American films.
Sure.
So to be one of the few American films to be selected is a huge, huge honor. And I don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
It's always been a dream of mine. So why it was important for this film was because hopefully if this film does well and the right people watch it, maybe some sort of legislation can change and maybe some of these adoptees can stay
Right.
or be brought back.
Right.
So it makes it even more of an international issue. So there's more visibility outside of the United States, and it's not just Americans like looking at deportation.
Sure.
Because these type of issues are happening in London, in England,
Yeah.
and France,
Yeah.
and all over the world. So
Yeah.
it started that conversation, and it makes the film have a bigger scope and more of a chance for people, important people in the U.S. to
Right.
listen up.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and then can you talk about basically, there's the Sundance audience,
Yeah.
and then there's the Cannes audience, the
Yeah.
French audience.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I've been in some audience reactions that have been, pretty. I was like, whoa, like, yeah. So how was did you sense a different reaction or different sensibility when it comes to the audience watching your film
Yeah.
versus going in the U.S., for example?
I would say so. Like it was markedly different. I think U.S. at least, and I can only speak about my
Yeah,
experience. It was a little bit more interactive. They're more reactive. Khan was like a lot quieter, and it scared the shit out of me.
Right.
Because I hadn't seen it in a while because I finished this film last year, and,
Yeah.
and we were waiting for the pandemic to
Right.
clear.
Right.
So the first, 30 minutes, I was sinking in my chair and I was like, oh man, I made a shitty film. And I was really freaking out,
Right.
and I was getting anxiety. I was like, I wanted to get up and leave. But I just like, they just take in film, I think, a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, if they don't like something,
Very vocal.
very vocal
Yeah.
and are not scared to get up and leave.
Yeah.
So, it was scary, but like to my surprise, we got like a huge standing ovation, and that also is something quite, unusual for an American audience.
Yeah.
I almost feel my experience with it is that it was a long ovation, right? It almost feels like they want to do it that long. They want to clap and give you that ovation for that long. So the niceties go away.
Yeah.
And after a while, you end up having your own thoughts and can actually be present. Because if it only lasts a minute or two, you're like, okay, yeah, thank you, and then you can
Right.
kind of like wave it off and it ends.
Yeah.
But because it lasts for so long, you start to think about your entire life. you start to think about, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
And then at a certain point, you just end up relaxing.
Yeah.
And then you enjoy the moment, and then you can really actually have
It washes
gratitude.
over you in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very extremely thankful that I got to experience that, but it's just a different experience.
Sure.
I think American audiences, what's different is that they wait, and then after the screen, you have a long line of people wanting to talk.
Yeah.
And I think Cannes, they have a few, but tend to kind of be more respectful, and then they're busy. They are on the way to the next screening.
Yeah.
But American audiences, you'll stay at the end of the screening and have a lot more conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this film is coming out. What's the release date?
September 17th.
September 17th.
Yeah.
So, can you briefly talk about what's working at Macro? Macro is kind of led by Charles King.
Yeah.
And their whole purpose is to basically produce these films from diverse communities, diverse filmmakers.
Yeah.
Maybe just Macro basically got you on board.
Yeah.
Got this film on board.
Oh,
made it happen.
absolutely. Yeah. Macro is an incredible company. Charles King is truly king. you know, the background with him is he was originally an agent and represented Oprah
Yeah.
and Tyler Perry and Will Smith, like legendary people, you know. And then, you know, I think it was always part of his plan, his long-term plan, to start a production company and you know, Fubu it, you know. And you know, he's doing it. He's walking the walk, and truly appreciative, like, because they bought this off of just like a blind pitch. You know, I was like, hey, I kind of would love to come in and talk about this thing, and I just, you know, it wasn't even that formal. I just told them my idea and what I wanted to do, and it was like literally within a day they said we'll do it.
Wow.
And then I also, you know, and I also said, like, you know, I'm a little bit particular about how I want to write, and they honored all of that.
Wow.
You know, and I gotta say they were really great collaborators creatively as well. You know, making this film, like, no notes.
Wow.
They really trusted me.
Wow.
They were there, but like they just really trusted my voice and my vision and just let me do my thing. And then in the edit, it was more suggestive rather than prescriptive.
Right. Right.
So, you know, I'm so incredibly thankful to them, and they really supported me every step of the way,
Yeah.
and made sure, you know, knew when to push and step in when they felt like, you know, I needed to be guided, and
Yeah.
you know, but you know, they're doing their damn thing, you know,
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Black Messiah, you
Yeah.
know, and they're just, you know, dope, and
Yeah.
you know, Just Mercy, like so many
Mhm.
just amazing sort of thing that they're involved with. I wish them all the success, and you know, if I have another opportunity to work with them again, I will.
Yeah. I mean, talking about opportunities. I mean, this film's coming out in September, but then you know, I mean, you've already worked on several things already. You know, like, I mean, you direct a few episodes of the adaptation of Chinko. Right?
Yes.
That's going to be the big, you know, based on the novel. It's going to be a Apple TV Plus series and whatnot. And then just maybe if you want to just talk about kind of what you're working on right now here on Oahu.
Yeah. So, you know, I live here now, and I would love to make more films here. You know, of course, I'm not born here, so, like, you know, there's a fine line of what I should tell,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and so I want to be very respectful of that, but I also do think that Hawaii has so much to say, and from I can only tell films from my perspective, but the current film I'm working on is with a rapper named Rich Brian, and it's about an Indonesian rapper who's just about to blow up, and his dad has been his manager his entire life, and he's about to move on, and has fired his dad.
Oh wow.
So essentially, the film is a breakup story between father and son.
Oh,
And the reason they're in Hawaii is he's recording his new album here.
yeah.
But there's a folktale that starts the film about a banyan tree. And in the U.S., the only places that banyan trees grow are Florida, which I didn't really want to film, and Hawaii.
Got it.
So this folktale weaves through the entire film.
Interesting.
And his dad asked him, he's like, why'd you decide to record your album in Hawaii? And he says, oh, it's because, you know, they want their new artists to be here because the record label owner has a second home here, and the dad is like, no, it's because it reminds you of home. So there is this sort of like this universal vibe of you know, parts of Southeast Asia and Hawaii that are linked. And you know, like on a personal level, like, again, bringing empathy to Asian Americans. I've done now 3 films about Korean Americans, and then I've done, you know, Pachinko is Japanese, and also, you know, Blue Bayou is some Vietnamese, but I think I can best serve the community by using my platform and my position to also now branch out and represent and tell other Asian stories. You know, I think that the Southeast Asian community is not being serviced enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that I use my platform to also make sure that their stories are told. So that's a big sort of reason this story is very important to me.
Yeah, I mean, Southeast Asia is really much, you know, that's huge. You know, it's like yeah, and then I mean, Indonesia's huge. You
People
know?
don't know.
They
I
bring
mean,
out- yeah.
yeah.
And then I mean, Rich Brian, you know, he's from. No, everyone thinks he's from here, but no, he's from or the U.S. No, he's from Indonesia.
He's straight
Yeah.
Indonesian, like
Yeah.
straight Indonesian. Like he learned English from YouTube.
Exactly.
You know, people don't know that they get tricked because he has no accent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he's Indonesian. It's not some sort of trick or a joke.
Right.
He's really Indonesian. You know, and people don't realize Indonesia has just as much population as the United States.
Yeah.
They have like
Yeah.
300 million people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, it's a huge economy, and I think American audiences need to know. You know, they need to be exposed to, you know, other Asian cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see? I mean, my final question is like, so what is the kind of? I mean, you know, you want to continue to. I mean, obviously you're amazing director of directing and stuff like that. But do you see yourself just acting and stuff, or going back and forth, or always acting in something you're directing, or?
So there is one other film. Like, I think as I get old, like another reason I transitioned to directing is, you know, I see some of like our older counterparts in the community, and I'm just like, shit. I don't know if I want to be like 65 auditioning for some punk ass like 25-year-old director kid.
Right.
You know, so there's a part of that is dignity for me. I wanna age with some dignity.
Uh-huh.
But I love acting.
Yeah.
So you know, like the stance I'm in right now, that I'm taking right now is, I'll act if I get invited and if it really like if there's something to say. You know. So like, the one film I auditioned for last year was First Cow.
Oh wow.
Because I love Kelly Reichardt, and she's
Kelly,
she's an American poet, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like, I read the script, I was like, oh, her doing a film with some sort of Asian character in it is probably never gonna happen again.
Right.
So I was like, so that one I did audition for, and I used all my powers. I was like, hey, can you have her watch Gook and see like what else I do? But like, so things like that I would love to do. You know, and you know, I'm not driven by money. It's really about, is there something to say? So, you know, I worked with Wayne Wang.
Yeah.
That was like really incredible because he's the OG of indie film, you know? So I was like, this is an incredible opportunity, and I was just willing to go on the ride. I was like, what do you want, Wayne? I'll do whatever you want. And if he asked me again, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Sure.
But, you know, never say never. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I might have to send my kid to private school here. You know, so I might have to do, you know, something. But I'd like to. You know, there's one particular film I'd like to act in that I want to direct. But I don't want to act in everything I direct because it's just too difficult.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I really am enjoying directing.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, but I just love how, at the end of the day, I can sit in the audience, and whether it's good or bad, I'm responsible for it. Mm-hmm. And it's something I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So I really get turned on by that, and I can do it till I die. You know, like Clint Eastwood, Cry Macho is still doing it, man.
He's like 90.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So and I'll probably work till I die.
Yeah.
So it's just a good avenue for me to express myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
It's like truly amazing. Blue Bayou is an amazing film, and it's so great to see you be part of the local creative community here.
Absolutely.
And be, you know, a resident of Oahu and whatnot, and like bringing, you know, great work here, and we're looking forward to your future work, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. And sorry I couldn't be there. But if you see me on the street, say hi.
Yeah. It's probably in Waimanalo right now.
Yeah. I'm in Waimanalo, so if you're in that area, say hi.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you for attending, and see you at the movies.